So Abiding Love is a compilation of 17 stories from 3 widowers, 3 men, and 14 women. We're sharing the love that we have with our spouses in that book in each chapter. And so it gave them an opportunity on the journey to share their love in writing. So many stories have come from this experience. People have been grateful to have been able to write it and heal through the writing.
Mm-hmm.
We have one couple who got married as a result of our book signing.
Wow.
So one of the men met a widow at the book signing at
Mhm.
Eagles Landing Country Club, and they got married the next year.
Welcome to the BOOMLENNIAL podcast, hosted by the dynamic duo cousins, Chee and Dee. This podcast celebrates the synergy between a millennial and a baby boomer, showcasing the fusion of generational leadership, insights, and real-life experiences.
We'll unveil strategies not to just survive, but thrive as leaders in an ever-evolving world. Let's ignite the transformation we inspire to see in ourselves, our teams, and our businesses. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the BOOMLENNIAL podcast, your go-to podcast for entrepreneurial and leadership insights. I'm Chee.
And I'm Dee, and today we are discussing preparing for the unthinkable, life after loss.
Wow. Well, Dee, I understand you had another friend that hit a big milestone. I'm thinking this is the big 4-0. I understand you all went on a destination trip. You care to share where you went and what did you guys do?
Yes, so it was an excellent trip. I did have a friend who turned 40, which I'm not 40, by the way. I'm kidding, but I am. So we are making our rounds this year. And so we just came back from Curacao, which is a island in the Caribbean, southern part of the Caribbean. Beautiful water, beautiful beaches. It was really good. It was relaxing. And we were most importantly there to celebrate a good friend of mine. So happy birthday, girl.
That's sweet. I heard people who go to Curacao often compare it to Aruba. Did you find it like that?
I did. It's a Dutch island. So it was colonized by the Dutch. And so very similar, I would say, vibes.
Okay.
I think Curacao is less populated than Aruba. You know, I think more Americans are starting to go there.
Okay.
But yeah, I definitely felt like it was Aruba-ish.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, do you know what today is?
It's our anniversary.
Oh,
It's our anniversary.
Viewers, we want to tell you that today is a milestone. This is our 10th episode. Yay! Absolutely. Yes. Okay.
So let's get back to the show. So Chee, would you please introduce our very special guest today?
Absolutely. So it is my pleasure to welcome to our BOOMLENNIAL podcast, Dr. Shanita Connolly, affectionately known to many as Dr. C. Shanita is a certified life coach, an author, a huge jazz enthusiast. Dr. C is a mom, a grandma, and I am delighted to say she is my personal friend of over 20 years. So please help me welcome to the show, Dr. Shanita Connolly.
Woo-hoo! Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thanks.
With
You're
you
welcome.
both. Yes.
Okay.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. Yay.
So tell us a little bit about your background and journey. What inspired you to create Life After the Rain?
So let's go backwards. So I'm originally from Pensacola, Florida.
Oh,
I was that disobedient child who got married right out of high school, had 3 children. After 7 years of being married and the third child, 30 days after she was born, my husband decided he didn't want to be married anymore. Wow. Threw me into a single parent role, moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 1996 with my 3 children a year later. And I started the journey of pursuing a career in human resources and various other careers in Atlanta, mainly with the military. However, being single for about 20 years before
Wow.
God blessed me with the second husband. 20 years.
Mm.
1989 to 2009. Lots of relationships in between.
Okay.
They
I
weren't
may
the-
remember a
they
few
weren't
of
the
those.
one. Lots of relationships, the wrong ones. However, I had a desire for a particular type of husband, and his wife passed away in 2009, September. My marriage ended September 1989, 20 years.
Wow.
We met, became friends. 2 years later, we married. On this journey of Team Connolly, we were in charge of the marriage ministry at our church, New Vision Christian Church. Shout out to Pastor Luke Hall.
Ooh.
We thank him for that opportunity. We were diligent about educating and encouraging people to stay married. I'm still a marriage champion and was one even when I was single. My husband had a heart condition, and on June 30th, 2015, after a perfect day of us having our normal work day, he laid down next to me and collapsed of a heart attack.
Wow.
I did not know CPR, which was devastating to me. Of course, I called 911. I ran out of the house to the neighbor's house, called the other neighbor. They were able to revive him, took him to the hospital, but he did not survive. 3 weeks later, he succumbed to his heart attack. Those 3 weeks were really, I thought, for him, but they were for me. To accept the fact that the journey with us as Team Connolly was over.
Wow.
Fast forward, about 8 months later, I had surgery in 2016 in the Fayette Hospital. And I was depressed because just imagine 20 years, God blesses you with a wonderful husband who loved you the way you desired, and he's no longer here. So I am depressed. God said, you need to live. There's some people I need you to take care of. And I was thinking to myself, I need somebody to take care of me.
Right.
What do you mean I need to take care of them? He said, there's some hearts that I know need you. And what he was saying was, there's some widows and there's some widowers that I need you to care for. Now I'm grieving.
Sure.
So how is it that? So hence is how I got to this place with Life with Shanita. After that surgery, Life with Shanita LLC was birthed. From Life with Shanita came Life After the Rain, which is the ministry for the widows and widowers.
Gotcha.
Wow.
So that's how we got here.
Okay.
That is a powerful story.
So,
what are some emotional and practical challenges widowers and widowers face that people don't often talk about?
So not only the loss of your spouse, the absence of the person, but the connection that you had. Me and my husband had a very vibrant sex life. And if I can just be honest with you.
This is a safe space.
Very safe space.
And so a lot of times people shy away from that conversation. So one of the things many of us have shared was that piece, that void. Just imagine.
20 years and then.
Or 5 years and then.
Yeah.
Or 4 years
Absolutely.
and then. And it's absent. So we have had widows and widowers who've been married for 30, almost 40 years. That is a common conversation that many of us have. In addition to that physical piece, of course, the emotional piece.
Sure.
The financial piece. And I'll share my experience. My husband was retired from the Army. 20 years as a computer programmer. He worked 10 years as a computer programmer for the state of Georgia, Department of Labor. We did not have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. So sometimes that financial piece of not sitting down to make sure that you have your I's dotted and T's crossed cause additional challenges while you're trying to grieve, which was my experience.
Gotcha.
So in the group, and I'm talking to widows and widowers, men and women alike, those are some of the common concerns and issues that many of us have had.
Okay.
Wow. So in your support group, Life After the Rain, what are some common questions and concerns that come up from those? Well, that's what you just explained, some of those situations. Is that where that birthed the idea of you writing your first book?
It did not happen there. It happened from the personal experience because we did not take the time to dot the I's, cross the T's. So just imagine, as I said earlier, he was the breadwinner. He had most of the income that we had, over $6,000 a month in 2015, went down to less than $1,000 a month after he died if I didn't work, because we didn't make sure his retirement check from the Army was set up to come to me.
Wow.
So just imagine you have a retirement check from the Army. You have your disability check from the VA. You have a work check. You have a contract check. You have a catering check. You have a retirement check from the state of Georgia. And I worked. So you had multiple streams of income, but you didn't make sure those incomes were solid. So what happens if they're extracted? What's the plan? We knew what to do, but we didn't stop and pause to do it. So when the heart attack came unexpected,
the
book was birthed from the pain that I endured.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's interesting. So, in your book, and this is actually for our viewers, the book that we're speaking on is Your House in Order. This is actually the book. It covers the essentials one needs to have in place after losing a spouse or a loved one in general.
Or before.
Okay. What are some of the key documents and preparations people often overlook?
Well, one of the things I've seen is your bank account. Say you're a single mother and you're the only person on that bank account. You don't have a beneficiary listed. You don't have anybody to handle your finances. If something happened to you, it's just you. That's been one main thing that I always tell people. Make sure there's a plan. Your will, your power of attorney. If you're a single mother, who's going to take care of your children if something happened to you? What is the plan financially, physically, emotionally? What's in place?
Yep. Shanita, go back to the bank because I actually did this. What is that called?
Pay on death.
Yeah,
POD.
POD, right. That you need to have a POD on that account, paid on death, and let our viewers know what that means and what it doesn't mean, because sometimes they say if you give people access, they have access to your funds. Immediately, they do not.
They do not.
Right.
So if you do a POD, that's a beneficiary identified. So the money will go to them if you die, when you die. If you have someone joint, then they would have access to your account. But
Correct.
if you just want a POD, if you don't have a POD, that money could go to the state.
Yep. And also the benefit of having that, which when you and I had this conversation, I made sure my son is now my POD on all of my accounts. It also, a lot of times they can freeze your account, if you pass. And so that POD will prevent that from happening.
Exactly. And you don't want your money to get caught up.
That's right.
And be lost and found. You want your money to go to whomever you desire, whether it's your children, family members, loved one. I had a session with a group of men, and I love talking to men because if I had a conversation with my husband, I'm sure he would apologize for us not getting our affairs in order. I asked them, how many of you guys have secret bank accounts? Nobody knows. Something happens to you. You don't have a POD. No beneficiary listed. What happens to that money? No one has a clue. So it's important to make sure you go to the bank, listeners, today, tomorrow, the next day, and list a beneficiary on a bank account.
Oh, yeah.
Got it. Okay. We've been informed. We will do that. We believe in following instructions on the BOOMLENNIAL podcast.
That's right. Because probate court is expensive. And I think the other thing that comes to mind with that, Dr. C, is that, what I've experienced in my own families is that one, things get tied up in probate, but also what happens in families is that they don't have the money right now to do and handle your business. So if you don't have that stuff in order, they can't pay for your funeral arrangements or things that need to be handled right now.
Exactly.
In anticipation for that big insurance policy to pay out, right? Because those things may take some more time.
It may take time.
There's levels, right? And I think that, like to your point in the book, proper planning,
You have to plan.
Even with your children, a lot of times, I know, I'm in real estate, but a lot of times things get caught up because they don't even have the money today to pay the taxes on the house that mama or grandmama left, when they're going to get the money in 6 months because that big insurance policy is coming, but they got to live for today. And so a lot of times, I know that a lot of people do estate planning and all that, but there's also, a 3-month plan, a 6-month plan, a 1-year plan, even after your, untimely death in some cases. So it's really important to have your business in order.
You have your affairs, all levels.
And I want to just say one thing too, when we're talking about your children, so in your case, it was your husband had passed, and ideally you could have that beneficiary being your spouse. If you are a single parent and you're thinking of who your beneficiary should be, and of course you want to always make provisions for your children. However, if they are under 18, you do not need to leave the children as the beneficiary. You really need to have a trusted adult that you feel will act on behalf, because that will automatically put everything that's left for children in the name of children have to go to probate.
Right.
And that's what happened when my ex-husband, my son's father, died. He had left him an insurance policy in his name, and we had to go through probate. I had to be bonded to be able to be the administrator of the funds, or whatnot. So it was,
to your point, it's important for you to have a trust and direct those funds for those kids. Because say, for instance, they're 10. You die and they're 10 years old, and you want to make sure you take care of them for the next, say 10 years till they're 20. If they get a lump sum of money and they're irresponsible, that money will be gone in no time.
Absolutely.
If you put it in a trust and you direct it and say, I only want to expend this much this month for this one until they get this age and this much for the next one. However, you're handling your business.
Absolutely.
You're specific. There's no questions. And you sit down and explain that to them.
Yeah. So there's no surprises.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Conversation.
And I always advise, family and friends, if you have multiple assets, right? Kind of to your point, Angela, you may leave someone cash. You may leave another one a house. You may leave the other one the beach house. You may leave the fourth sibling land, whatever. And maybe it equals out, right, to be your entire portfolio. But when you have multiple people owning one or two things, it just creates a disaster. I have a client now that they're trying to sell a property, but they can't because the brother is 3 siblings. And we're even looking for the deed now in Fulton County to figure out if the dad that's leaving them this estate even owns everything that they even think he owns.
Wow.
So it can get really
very messy.
And they don't look like us. I will say that. So it's not just us sometimes not having our business in order, even at that level. So, you just never know.
You don't. And let me give you an example. When Winston and I connected, him and his previous wife, who passed away from cancer in 2009, they owned a house in Riverdale. Well, we got married, moved into my home. That house went into foreclosure. Because when he passed away, remember, his income was substantial. So he could pay the mortgage over there and we could pay our mortgage at our home. His sons didn't want to leave their apartment to move into their house to save their house.
Wow.
Not only did they not want to do that, but they didn't want to sign over because the state says now I am part owner of that home along with them. But I didn't want 2 houses. I couldn't afford to have 2 houses, right? So I suggested, why don't we sign it over to your cousin who wants to buy it? All 3 of us signed it over. They didn't. The house was foreclosed.
Wow.
So the conversations must be had.
That's right.
Talk about it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Make
And
it clear.
I love that you say that, because let me just tell you now, my family, we have open dialogue, we with our parents, because both of my parents now, well, my father has hit 80. My mother will be 80 next year, but we know who is each healthcare power of attorney, who's the financial, but let's just say, so when my dad was telling me, now I'm the oldest sibling, right? And my dad was saying that he's making my brother his power of attorney financial, right? And I was offended. I said, Daddy, what? Why are you doing that? Because I'm a girl, because I'm the oldest. He's the baby. That was my thought process, right? And he looked at me and says, no, Angela, it's because you live in Atlanta. Your sister is in DC. Brother is right here in South Carolina, just 40 minutes from me, right? Now, that made totally sense. But just suppose my father had died and we didn't have that conversation, and that was my mindset. I'd have been all upset. My head's turning all around over something that was not even his care or his thought. It was more of a convenience or whatnot.
But that made practical sense.
Yes.
To Dad.
And everything. And once he broke it down to me too, it made sense. He reminded me of all the things I'm involved in. And, oh yeah, you got 2 book clubs and a travel club, and you're going to run to Atlanta, down from Atlanta. So anyway, but it's important to communicate, because sometimes what you're thinking is totally not what the parent was even thinking about.
Correct.
And
true.
people are getting mad and upset over something that wasn't even the parent's intent.
And I got one for you too. So the attorney who did our family's wills and trust and everything, I remember, because to your point, you elect trusted officials that you trust that to do certain things. So I won't get into all that here on this platform, but the person that I had chosen to do certain things, he said, well, wait a minute. When I gave their date of birth, he said, well, they're this age. You're this age. They're older than me.
Correct.
And so he said to me, you might want to rethink that, because God willing, you outlive them.
Right.
So how can they make a decision from your grave about you when you're going to outlive them?
Right.
And that was a different perspective,
Yes.
right? Just having a conversation. And I was like, you do have a point.
Yep.
I probably need to choose somebody younger than me, or at least at my same age.
Exactly.
Assuming that, in at my time of death, certain situations. So I say all that to say, just having those open conversations.
Absolutely.
Being transparent. And then, to your point in the book, planning for these
Absolutely.
Because I never thought about that. I'm like, oh yeah, I trust this person with certain aspects of my life. Why not? And he's like, wait a minute, they're significantly older than you.
Yeah.
You're gonna outlive that
Right.
We need to rethink that.
Yeah, like, you need to rethink that.
Absolutely.
So, just removing the emotions, and to your point, adding some logic into these decisions, because they're really tough.
They're tough.
Really
And I will say, when my mother, before she died, she wanted me to get an insurance policy out on her and my dad. And because I didn't want to talk about death, I didn't. Now, they had their own policies, but my older sister did. My mother said, this is the way to create generational wealth.
Absolutely.
I didn't do it. So when they passed away, my older sister was able to draw from that policy.
Absolutely. Because do you know that the only thing that is not taxed by our government is the funds, proceeds that you get from an insurance policy, right? Now, and that is the number one way to create generational wealth, is an insurance policy. And I will tell you, I'm not now, but I used to be a licensed insurance agency and agent. And when I would go, now let me just tell you something that's different though. In our community, you go to the white community, a husband and wife get married. The first thing they do is they go and get insurance policies on each other, right? So when I found this out, I'm trying to, I'm going to save our community and I'm going to educate our community too, right? And I would go to the Black community, and you know what the guys would say? I ain't getting no policy. Leave us so another dude can, take care of, have this money.
Yep.
And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yep.
you don't want your wife or your family to be taken care of. I thought that was crazy,
And that's why I push this so much, because I want people to hear my story.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you don't prepare?
Yes.
The devastation,
Mm-hmm.
financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of those things are affected because you didn't take the time to dot the I's and cross the T's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Make
That
sure
is
your people are good.
Yeah. Of
Absolutely.
course. That's just your duty.
Absolutely.
So, speaking of that, for those listening who may not be widows or widowers, what are some ways that they can support someone who's going through that?
So I think simply sometimes just being present.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't have to say a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can just send a card. You can send a text. You can send food, deliver,
Mm-hmm.
order food. Simple things. You don't necessarily have to be overpowering to the individuals, but sometimes just being present,
Okay.
not saying a lot
Right.
until they're ready. And don't ask them, how are you doing?
Okay.
When you lose a spouse or a loved one, because most times you're not good.
Right.
You can say, hey, I'm here for you. I'm praying for you. Is there anything that I can do for you? If you know the person, then you may know what they like. And you can do those kinds of things for them.
Okay.
Also, grief share
Mm-hmm.
is another opportunity for people to be involved in a support group. Griefshare.org. Griefshare.org.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it's a wonderful program. I absolutely love it, and it helped me tremendously.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, because it does it share like people don't realize there's stages of grief, right?
All the stages.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you're in the room with people who've lost husbands, children, parents, siblings, and it's a wonderful community.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Then speaking of community, what role has the community and connections played in the healing process for you and the members of your support group?
So life after the rain. So there's rain.
Mm-hmm.
God said there is life. So life is what I try to bring to each of them when we have events. We wrote a book. As a matter of fact, my support group, God gave me the second book, Abiding Love.
Ah,
Mm-hmm. And
Tell us
Abiding
about
Love.
this one.
Yes. So Abiding Love is a compilation of 17 stories from 3 widowers, 3 men, and 14 women. We're sharing the love that we have with our spouses in that book in each chapter. And so it gave them an opportunity on the journey to share their love in writing. So many stories have come from this experience. People have been grateful to have been able to write it and heal through the writing.
Mm-hmm.
We have one couple who got married as a result of our book signing.
Wow.
So one of the men met a widow at the book signing at
Mhm.
Eagles Landing Country Club, and they got married the next year.
Wow. How nice. Oh
I
my
know that makes you
gosh.
feel really good.
Really
Yes.
good. And they always say, if you had not been obedient to God's instructions, we would not have met. So thank you. So I appreciate the opportunity I have. This Friday, one of the widows in the book
Mm-hmm.
got engaged a few months back, and we're celebrating her engagement together on Friday.
Oh my gosh.
So there are many things that I try to do. We've had breakfasts together. We've had walks, 3K, 5K, to make sure that they understand that even though we've had rain, there is sunshine.
Yes.
Nice.
And I want to be a part of bringing the sunshine to their life.
Oh.
That's
So life after
nice.
the rain, there is life.
That is beautiful.
Mhm.
That is beautiful.
And where can they find your book?
Amazon.
Okay.
Both books can be purchased on Amazon.
Okay.
Is Your House in Order and Abiding Love.
That is awesome. Okay. Well, life after rain has evolved,
Yes.
or life with Shanita, you're always doing other things. I know one of the things that Shanita does, she actually has a podcast too
Mhm.
that she does. But you actually took on another endeavor because you and Winston were huge jazz enthusiasts. They actually encouraged me to go to my very first jazz concert. Remember I was in Nashville and you knew the producer, I think, and you called me and said, I want you to call him. And I was hooked. Yes, that was his name. He was so kind to us too. All I said was, Shanita gave me your number and asked me to call. And he's like, I got you. Gave us VIP section and whatnot. So I love jazz festivals ever since then. But what are you doing now in that area?
Well, thanks to you joining me last year, an Elegant Evening of Jazz was launched in year 2. So I'm proud of it.
This.
Proud producer of this wonderful event. So this year we will have the amazing Lori Williams, Trey Daniels, and Gino Rosario as a part of our artists. Join us on the red carpet at Spivey Hall on Clayton State University campus. It's going to be a wonderful evening of elegance hosted by Morris Baxter from WCLK, and we'll have a comedian this year.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Cornelius George.
And it's going to be on Sunday, October the 6th. Doors will open at 5 o'clock. No, actually, if you get VIP, they're going to open at 4, right?
3.
Oh, it's going to be 3 for the VIP and then 4 for the general pop. That's right, because the show starts at 5. Gotcha. So don't be there. Don't meet us there. Beat us there.
Yes. You don't want to miss it.
So,
all right. Hear about it.
Awesome.
Experience it.
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to join October 6th, right? Okay.
That's the first Sunday in October.
Nice.
And
that's a good kickoff.
And we don't have football game. The Falcons does not have a game. Although we talked about,
I know.
I was going to say that to the people.
The Falcons does not have a game. So please be there.
But it's a lot of fun. It's a beautiful dress up event. So come and if you've something you've gotten and you haven't had a chance to show it off, we have pictures taken on the red carpet. Even after the show, the artist will come out. You get to take photos with the artist. And Shanita will have a professional photographer there too. And she makes sure that you will get those photos. It's a beautiful, elegant evening of jazz.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yay! Yep. So, well, as we wrap up, Shanita, is there any other accomplishments or any thoughts that you'd like to share with our viewers?
There's so many. But I'll just say I'm grateful for the journey. Losing my husband took me to receiving an honorary doctoral degree in Christian leadership.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It took me to being a minister, not ordained, but a licensed minister. You probably didn't know that.
I did know that. I did.
It has been such a wonderful journey since he's passed away. And so I'm grateful that I'm still here and I'm approaching my 60th birthday in October.
Yes.
On the 16th.
Wow.
So 10 days before my birthday, the concert will take place.
Okay.
So we'll celebrate there. And so I'm just grateful.
Are we having an after party again this year?
We plan to.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Okay. Well, let me just say this. Dr. Connolly has a whole month of stuff planned. She has dates from the 6th through, I think, the 20th.
October 1st.
October 1st to the 29th, 28th, something like that.
26th.
Okay. I just knew it was a whole month. So, and then there's a purpose on each of those events. So how do the people keep in touch with you if they want to be invited to your birthday celebration?
So social media is great. Instagram, Shanita Connolly. Facebook, Shanita Connolly. If you know me, reach out.
Okay. And we'll actually have her name on the lower screen. Okay?
Yes. We'd love for people to email me or they can call me. You can put my number.
Okay. You want us to blast your cell number?
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
All right. Well, we'll have our creative director put her phone number and email address per her request on the lower screen. Okay. We'll have that for you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Angela.
Okay.
So, Chee, do you know what sound that means? It's time for our ATL segment.
Ask the leaders. So, Shanita, this is where, if you want to grab that box there, we call that our profit box because we go in business to do what?
Make a profit.
Yes. So this is where our listeners actually get to engage with us.
Okay.
So I'm actually pulling out this question that one of our wonderful listeners have contacted us. And this is their question. So this is from a viewer, Jeanette from Washington, D.C. Dear Chee and Dee, I absolutely love your podcast. The way you blend valuable insights with humor makes learning so enjoyable. Thank you for the compliment, Jeanette. My question is, what advice would you give listeners on how they can best prepare their lives and families for the future, regardless of where they are in their journey? Would you like to bless us with that answer?
So I think it starts with a plan.
Okay.
I think before we can help other people, we have to have a plan for ourselves. We need to make sure that there is a plan in place for our life.
Mm-hmm.
And if our life is connected to other people, there needs to be an extension of our plan for those people. And it needs to be very clear. And we need to communicate with those individuals so they understand what the plan is. So there's no surprise. I believe in family meetings. Make sure everyone's in the room that it matters to so that there's no secrets. That's the start.
Okay.
Where it all starts.
Yes.
Communication.
Okay.
Effective communication.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to even follow up, put my little 2 cents in too, because I do love that. You've got to have honest communication. And so many people think, oh gosh, talking about death is so morbid.
It's a part of life.
Death is a part of life. And in case you guys didn't know it, one day you're going to check out of here. Okay.
You are.
And a good man woman leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And inheritance doesn't necessarily just mean money. Of course, it can mean, information, resources, a lot of things, but definitely you want to leave your affairs in order. Preparation is an act of love.
It is.
It's about lifting a burden from those you care about so they can focus on healing and moving on when you pass. As someone that's gone through it, wouldn't you think that if you have things in order, that can ease a little bit of the grieving process?
It does indeed. And that's why I wrote the book, because the part that I experienced of not having the I's dotted, the T's crossed, was more painful to me than the death itself.
Gotcha.
Now you're coping with the death, and now you're coping not only with the death, but with lack.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
exactly.
And let me make another point about life insurance. My husband had a life insurance policy. We thought it was one amount. But because I didn't know all the ins and outs about that policy, it was accidental for the amount that I knew, and it was less if it was natural causes. So understand your policies, know what they mean, check in with your insurance policy person, your insurance agent, go to your bank, put a beneficiary on your accounts, make a list of all your assets at work, personally, because we have insurance policies on the job. If you have a family that you leave behind, what are the benefits for them when you leave? Fortunately, my husband retired from the Army, so I do have medical and dental benefits through the United States Army. It's not contingent upon a job. What's left for them?
Yes.
Know all angles of it.
Yep.
That's great.
And I think the other piece to that, for me, the millennial in the group is my husband and I, we're adamant also about teaching our kids how to manage that.
Yes.
So now we're setting it up for you, right? But once you're given the keys to the castle, how do you keep that going for more generations?
Yep.
So to take it that step further, we are on a mission to teach our kids about money, how to manage it. Okay, if the trust only gives you a certain amount, well, when you get that lump sum, how do you manage that?
I love it.
The assets that we have. Okay, what do you do with a house? Do you get it appraised? Do you even know? Just some of those life lessons, I think, is what we believe that continues that generational wealth, right? Because I can set it up that you're left things, but if you don't know how to manage it and keep it,
Say it.
or grow it
Correct.
to be more than what
Right.
it is,
Yes.
right? And I think that's what sets, some communities apart from others.
Right.
Is we are in a position, we know what to do and how to plan and set it up, but then how do we teach them to take it to the next level?
The next level.
I'm so glad you
I
brought
love
that
that.
point up, because that's one of the things I've done with my son. Like, I have a financial advisor and I've already introduced them. And he automatically is going to become a client of his he's going to hopefully before, because he has to amass so much money. And so he's working now in his career, and they're talking now, but I've often told him that that's who you're going to go to for any financial needs. And we're the same age. So hopefully my financial advisor will be, if he's not actually alive, he will have someone else in place. But I have taught him to actually go and talk to a financial advisor who's basically knows our family, what I desired, and the type of generational wealth I'm trying to create. And no, not trying. I plan to create and continue. And that continuation is going to be based upon my son, doing his part. So I love that you brought that point up.
Yes. And another point I want to make too. So say we don't want to marry again, or say we do. What about a prenup? There were times when I did not believe in prenuptial agreements. But I want us to start thinking differently. If you created something or built something to this point in your life and someone comes into your life, does your plans that you had before they came in your life go away?
Probably not.
And you should talk about that with that person so that you can understand, this I created and it's supposed to be for my children or my grandchildren. Anything we build from this place on is for us. You need to have those conversations.
Oh, you do.
Many
I
times
agree.
we don't want to have them. You need to have them.
Absolutely.
And they have post-nups. If you didn't know, they do have post-nups. So let's say you change your mind, to your point. Say you skip that part 5 years ago, and now you're getting your affairs in order. They have attorneys that can do what they call a post-nup. So it's after the marriage.
You've been married. I think that's important, because
so it's not too late. Is
have
what
the
I'm
conversation.
Never too late. I love that. So listeners, that's very, very important. My personal belief is whatever I have amassed at this point in my life, it's going to be for my son and the generations down. And then when I do get married, and the same for his, my husband, I think that whatever he has done, it should be for his children. I don't think I should have a right to any of that. That should be for his children.
I agree.
And then when we get together, then we can set up like our own insurance policies, and then our own, plans on how we're going to build generational wealth together.
And it all starts with a conversation. Have the conversation, sit down and make a personal plan. And then those who are attached to those plans, make sure that that information is dispersed.
Okay.
In family meetings.
That's
all right.
That's right.
Great.
Those Sunday dinners, they coming back.
Have the conversation, people.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Jeanette from Washington, D.C. That was a wonderful question. Remember, if you have any business or leadership related questions, please email your questions to Chee and D. So CheeAnddee @gmail.com. And your question may get selected to be read at one of our next episodes. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at BOOMLENNIAL Podcast. So stop right now. Hit the subscribe button, get us some likes, and follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on Insta, and of course, YouTube. So go ahead and follow us right now. Thank you.
Wow. Well, Dee, this brings us to the end of another exciting episode.
Episode 10.
Episode 10.
It's
we
our
made it. It's our anniversary. Woo! Yes. And to the dynamic Dr. Shanita Connolly, I can think of I'm so happy that it's you that is actually here with us on our recording of our 10th anniversary episode. What do you have to say?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Chee and Dee. Thank you all, BOOMLennials, for this opportunity to share on your platform. It's a beautiful space. I felt right at home, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. Again, thank you.
Oh,
Of
you're
course.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to our viewers, thank you so much for always watching us. Thank you for your support. Remember that we drop an episode of the BOOMLennial podcast on the second and fourth Thursday of the month, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so please remember, if this episode or any of our episodes adds value to you in any way, all that we ask is that you share with your friends and your family members and get them to subscribe as well, okay? Thanks. Now, please join us next time for our episode entitled Empowering Small Businesses, Insights from the Small Business Administration.
Until next time, shine bright and do business right. See you soon.
Bye.